truly. Cooler and I'm flyer too. Jam. Cooler and I'm flyer.
Welcome back, y'all. You already know A1 Forever Sports, the show that's cool and flyer too. Be generational because it's always time to be, and don't you settle for less because you always can have more with the vision. And we already did part one. Sorry we had to dip out on you so fast, but we are back now for part two with the same panel. And I know before he was a newcomer, but you see he's sitting next to me now. You know what I'm saying? I got my man Jordan up here. You already know T Will for my ATL Sports / One Time for the Fan. And of course, you already know who the guy is down at the bottom. That's Smitty. No, excuse me. Smooth Smitty. 11K. You know what I'm saying? Welcome back, fellas. Happy that you guys can, come back and finish this up as we were talking about NFL players who can play in different eras. And if you didn't catch the first video, please make sure, no matter what channel you're watching this from, to check it out. Part one. It was very, very good, man. Very informative. Everyone did their thing. So you definitely need to check that out. Before we jump right in, just guys, holler at the people, starting with Jordan.
Yeah, you can find me at Ultegacy, ULTEGACY. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and YouTube.
It is.
You can find me at One Time for the Fan, also for my ATL Sports 1 at YouTube. And I did check out your site this weekend, Jordan. And it is great, man. You have a wealth of knowledge and information. So I'm truly around greatness. Smitty, 11K. I mean, do I have to say it? But go ahead, Smitty. Let them know.
Yeah, man. All love, man. But this should be interesting, man. Hate I had to dip out on the first episode, but I'm gonna stick around for most of this one, man, because gave out some good players, man, that first go around. But this time I think we got a little bit more some hot players, man.
I got some stuff for you, man.
Let's get rolling, man. Let's get rolling.
Okay, we're starting with a Hall of Famer, y'all. So you already know what's going on. Hall of Famer. He has 14 Pro Bowls, y'all. 6 All Pros. Middle name is David. I know, right? Super curveball. But yeah, man, middle name is David. And he played for multiple teams.
14 Pro Bowls.
So he had
this guy is the cream of the crop. I'm talking about the old Randy Savage used to say, rest his soul.
You had to go there.
Offense or defense?
Cream of the crop.
I didn't hear you. Your mic went. What'd you say?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Offense or defense?
Oh, straight offense.
Okay.
Is that Peyton Manning?
Said Manning. What you got, T. Will?
Yeah, that's what I said, Manning.
Manning? Okay. What you got, Smitty?
Larry Fitzgerald?
Nah. All of y'all are wrong, man. It is arguably the greatest tight end that has ever laced them up, that has ever hit the gridiron. I'm talking about Togo, Tony Gonzalez himself.
Yeah, I know somebody that played a long time. Oh, man.
Yeah, man. I'm talking about over 1,300 receptions, over 15,000 yards, over 111 touchdowns, man. Tony freaking Gonzalez, man. Former first-round pick, 13th overall in the 1997 NFL Draft.
Hey, Chris, not to cut you off, but I think we have excuse me for saying this, but I'm going to imitate one of my friends, a super
not the super chat. Let's see what we got. Oh, we got that boy Antonio Henderson coming through with the $4.99 super chat. Of course, thank you so very much. What's up, fellas? And hope y'all ready to turn up this season because it's going down. I know it's going to be a good one. Congrats to Smooth Smitty, 11K, doing it big as usual.
Yes.
That's just the type of love that, we get around here, man. Shout out to Smooth Smitty. Shout out to Antonio as well, man, for the super chat. I ain't got no special jingles. We don't have anything like that. No singing, no song, and everything. I'm sorry. You know,
We're
that's
gonna leave
what
that to
Uncle
Big
Steve,
Low.
Big Low and Uncle
Yeah,
Steve,
Big
you know,
Low.
they got that for you. I'm sorry, guys. We're gonna work on something though one of these days. One of these days. But yeah, how you guys feeling about Tony Gonzalez, man? What era can Tony play in? I'm gonna say, shoot, man, any era, man. If that's what I'm gonna say. But what you guys think?
Jordan,
I,
Start with Scoop Fitty and go around.
maybe.
I say any era because you talk about a guy 6'5", could block you out like he was playing basketball and had very good hands. But he's more to me of a throwback type player because he was physical. He run you over and he was a very good route runner for his size. So I can say he could play in any era. In today's era, I would love to see him go up against Gronk and see who had the best season. Because Matt Ryan, you saw him with Matt Ryan. He had, good season, even though he was on his last leg coming down to the end of his career. But you talk about him in his prime and you give him a all-pro quarterback, just like you give Gronk or Tom Brady. I would love to see those two go at it. But I would say any era.
What you got, T. Will?
I'm not going to disagree with him. I mean, you're talking about Tony Gonzalez again. Smitty. I mean, he stated it perfectly. Could knock you on your rear. Let's we not forget he started. Early, pre 2000s, and you had to block back then. You couldn't just be pretty, and go down and make catches. You had to block a little bit. So, to me, one of the most complete tight ends that football players could block, could catch, could run routes, could make adjustments. Reliable in the end zone, very good contact radius, very good. Was very good at contested catches. Very good at that. So yeah, in my humble opinion, he could play in any era. I don't see any limitations or restrictions. Jordan, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I do think he could play in any era. I think I believe he's the most well-balanced tight end in NFL history. I don't think many people would disagree with that. I mean, some people think Gronk is because he's an excellent blocker, and he is a good blocker. I don't think he's Gonzalez level of blocking. I think Tony Gonzalez is still the best tight end of all time, but there isn't anything he couldn't do at a high level.
Right.
And I think he would benefit in the early days. His blocking would be very beneficial. He would have been essentially another tackle out there. And in today's NFL, where the tight end is just another receiver, he would have probably been an even better receiver.
Right.
I think not to get misconstrued, but I actually think the reason why Tony Gonzalez probably would be better, I think Gronk had Brady his whole career. Even when he went to Tampa, could Gronk play with another quarterback that was not an all-pro? We knew Tony could, because guess what? He had a guy like Trent Green in Kansas City. He had Matt Ryan in Atlanta, and Matt Ryan was an all-pro. But he had Brady his whole career. Imagine if Tony G had a Joe Montana or John Elway his entire career.
Man,
I think he would have blew the numbers out the record book.
Man, can you imagine if Pat Mahomes had Tony Gonzalez right now? I mean, not calling Travis Kelce a slouch, but it is Tony Gonzalez.
It wouldn't be fair.
Lord,
it wouldn't be fair.
Any quarterback in this league right now would love a fresh coming out the draft Tony Gonzalez. The man would be an absolute cheat code. You know how I know we talk about Kyle Pitts being, being three of us being Falcons fans up here. But if Tony Gonzalez came out the same time as Kyle Pitts, I don't know, man. That's a good argument right there, just as far as athletic ability alone. We ain't even talking about stats, just as far as like.
And I give you two more tight ends that don't get a lot of credit, and one of them is a former Philadelphia Eagle, a guy by the name of Keith Jackson. He was very dominant late 80s, early 90s. You talk about guys like even Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham was another tight end that doesn't get a lot of credit, but to me, just a little bit, I think Gronk is overrated, mainly because of his quarterback and who his quarterback was.
Mm.
Hey, that's okay. That's a good argument, man. That can be a new video later on down the line, man. You never know. We'll see what happens, man. You know, just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. All right, man. I got another one for you.
All right.
This guy, I don't know, man. We just wrote this episode, man. We just seem like we're rolling out these Hall of Famers, man. This guy played 11 years in the league. Like I said, Hall of Famer. He's even a Super Bowl champion, 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All Pro. This guy on defense, shoot, man, he really should have had his own island.
The real Reeves.
Golly, you just gave it to us.
Yeah.
Right?
That was easy.
Yeah. I had to give y'all a layup, man. Y'all doing too bad around here, man. With these guessing. Yes, it is Darrelle Revis.
We suck at guessing.
One of the best cornerbacks that has ever played the game. Seriously.
Yes, he was. Absolutely. 100%. Could he play in any era? I can't. I don't think he struggled with hitting anybody. I can't recall him. Like, no disrespect to Dion, but I don't think Revis ever played a no-hitter, right? So I'm just kidding. Dion is one of the greatest corners ever.
Lord have
It's
mercy.
a joke that says it. I know you guys have heard the joke that said Dion is the only person that can play a no-hitter in 2 sports. Just kidding. Again, no.
I've heard it.
You guys are looking at me like I'm a drunk uncle at dinner. All right, let me get it together. I wonder if he could play in the 70s with that physical play. 80s and beyond, I'm okay with it, but 70s, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, 70s, you had to be able to tackle.
Yeah, you had to be able to come up.
A few things.
You had to be able to come up and knock somebody's block off. You had people running at Earl Campbell. And if y'all don't know about Earl Campbell, you need to Google him because he was physical. And you did not want to be on the end of that. So I'm going to say
Steve Atwater dust the shoulders off.
Yeah, 80s and beyond, I'm going to say, okay, I don't know. I don't know if he could do it before the 80s, but that's me. 80s and beyond is what I'm going to say.
I agree with that 100%. And if he played in the era with Dion in the 90s, he'd probably have way more interceptions.
Probably
because today's game, you can't even put your hands on the receiver, and that kind of handicaps the cornerback position.
Yeah.
But if you talk about, like he said, from the 80s all the way up to, like, I would say 2010, 2011, I think he would probably be up probably low at 50, 60 interceptions, just like some of the other guys like Rod Woodson and those guys. But those would be my 3 decades. I think he would be okay. Yeah,
agreed.
I think when it comes down to Revis, I mean, he's my favorite cornerback ever. I've never seen anyone shut down a receiver like Revis, and I think when it comes to playing man coverage, I think he could play in any era. I think, but he was never a ball hawking corner, and what I think the earlier he played, if you go to the 80s, 70s, and before, I wonder if he would have even been acknowledged as a good corner, because I think
that's a great point.
Then the more interceptions you got, the better you were. But there's some great cornerbacks who played during that time that are not acknowledged because even though they would shut down the receiver, there was no stats. They weren't talking about how many receiving yards you were allowing in each season, each game. And I wonder if he would be forgotten. I think he would have no problem in today's NFL. I think most people in general tend to shy away from corners who are ball hawking corners. Look at DaRon Bland. I mean, DaRon Bland had a historic season. And Trevon Diggs, look how great his year was when he had 11 interceptions?
11, yeah.
And those, and we tend to ignore that nowadays. And it doesn't matter how many interceptions you have because it's about how many yards you're allowing. So I think that's where Revis would really excel in right now.
And one guy that I would,
he was not giving up
possibly,
no yards.
and y'all know I like to just throw people and throw names around, but a guy that doesn't get the acknowledgement that he deserves is Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey was a pure athlete.
Yeah.
And not only because, and trust me, I'm a Georgia fan, so I've been watching this kid for a long time. But Champ Bailey, man, you talk about just a pure athlete. He could go out to contested catches. He was probably one of the best one-on-one cornerbacks to ever play. But he was another one that was tough to, go deep on, a tough one to go over the middle, and he could tackle. We always talk about cornerbacks and hitting, but Champ Bailey could actually hit.
And the thing about Revis too, man, he only had 25 interceptions with the New York Jets. But man, listen, wasn't nobody throwing over there, man. You gotta think about the defensive snaps. He's outside of 2012 and outside of 2017, the man was averaging over 90% of the defensive snaps.
Yep.
We talking about for an entire season.
Yeah.
And this man, he was not giving up yards. He's shutting down the top receivers. They can come in talking all the noise that they want to, but Darrelle Revis really had his own island for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that people tend to forget, people talk about his days with the Jets, obviously, and people also mention his time with the Patriots as he won a Super Bowl with them. Even that 1 year with the Bucs, he was really good. He was still at that high of a level at cornerback with the Bucs, but it just made more sense for him to go try and win a Super Bowl with the Patriots. So, I mean, regardless of wherever he was, it never mattered. And whoever he was playing against too, whether that's Calvin Johnson, Andre Johnson, T.O., Randy Moss, he was playing against all the best cornerbacks of the 21st century, all the best wide receivers of the 21st century. And I wouldn't say he shut them all down consistently. He would give it his all though. Against especially we all know Randy Moss in 2007. We all know that video where Randy Moss one-handed catches that touchdown. But Revis had his fights against Randy Moss too. So I think we all know in one of the best eras of receivers in NFL history, he's arguably the best cornerback during that time.
Right. And that's another reason why I think he can play in the old days too. Yeah. I mean, just because you can think about just how dynamic some of those receivers he was going against. Some of those guys back in the 80s and maybe some even in the 70s wasn't even at the caliber that he was facing. So he may have had a better chance with those guys too, man. Just if we're talking about Revis is still Revis and those guys are some of the guys that they were, man. I think you can possibly put him in the 80s and he'll probably be actually kind of scary, man, honestly.
No, shout out to Revis for always getting those guaranteed contracts.
Yeah. He was Kirk before Kirk was Kirk.
Man, listen.
But no, I think Revis could definitely play in the 80s. The thing about Revis that people don't understand is, it's one thing to get to number one. It's another thing to stay there, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of cornerbacks that the first 2 or 3 years, right, they're really good. And then the league adjusts to you.
And then they gradually fall off.
Bad. Yeah. Some mediocre. And again, to your point, Chris, people didn't throw on that side. And he still got exceptions. People didn't, you know what I mean? It's just like Deion. I would say
dangerous.
I would say Revis is top 5 on the Mount Valhalla of corner. He got to be top 5, right? Got in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
There's Deion. Wherever you want to put Revis, insert Revis there. But it's one thing
I probably put him right at number 5.
I'm fine with it. But it's one thing when they know that you are great and they put their best over there and you still shut them down, to Jordan's point. So my only issue with him playing in the 70s, that was a physical game. You had all kinds of guys getting shoulders blown out. I really just didn't want to see that happen to him. So that's why I didn't put him in.
Yeah. No, total great point. I was just thinking about the wide receiver talent yeah, you had some great wide receivers, but not everybody back then had great wide receivers. I mean, yeah, outside of the Steelers and a few other, maybe the Cowboys, a few other teams, like who would just had like just you know what I'm saying, just gang buster type receivers, just
Yeah,
blow
Tony
the
Wright,
game
right.
over.
You got to throw Jane Lofton in there because he with the
Right,
Packers. Before he got to the Bills, he was a beast.
Oh, definitely.
right.
But the Steelers ran the ball probably 60% of the time. So if you a
Oh yeah,
quarterback in there, you getting ready to get that work, buddy. It's coming. A toss sweep, it's coming your way. So it's a little
I think he would have
different.
got in there.
It started to pass more in the 80s, except for the Raiders. But they're the Raiders. Whatever.
Yeah, the Raiders. Yeah.
right.
But yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
fellas.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, fellas, we getting closer. We getting closer. Number three. Now, this guy's not a Hall of Famer. So we'll see what happens in the future. But he was drafted in the 5th round of the 2010 draft. He is a 4-time Pro Bowler. Man, the man is even a Super Bowl champion. Ain't that something? That's all I got for you. Yeah.
2010.
It was one of those sexy hints there. I mean,
Nah, I tell you, I gave you the layup last time, man. That was a layup last time.
Oh man,
It's not Antonio Brown, is it?
Ooh, that's a good guess, but it is actually not Antonio Brown.
Yeah, that was a good guess.
Heck
Because
yeah.
2010 5th round, 4 Pro Bowls.
That's a hard one.
I don't know.
What you got, T. Will?
He
got
trying to cheat.
man, you
He
got.
got-
Yeah,
he
he
on
trying to
the
cheat. Went off camera.
He on the Google.
Not trying to cheat. I was responding to something from work, and I didn't want to be rude, but I don't know anyway. So you got me. So there, you got
What
me.
you got, Smitty?
I ain't got nothing.
All right, ain't nothing wrong with that. It's all good. I got them for you. This was pretty tough though, fellas. I'm not gonna lie to you. To y'all's credit, this one was gonna be pretty tough. This is Bam Bam Cam Chancellor.
Wow.
Ooh,
Now let
that's a
me
good
tell you
one.
something. Hey, I'm gonna take this one first. Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. That Cam Chancellor. Okay, guys, I'm from Alabama, so I'm gonna use the term. Cam was not a man. Cam was a man. Okay, Cam was a grown man. Okay.
Right.
I saw Cam. I don't know if you guys remember this game, but he literally jumped over the guard in the center in that space, grabbed the football. I think
that was against San Francisco, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think he caught it, and he might have taken it back. It might have been caught. He was the first person I'd ever seen do that. Like it was in one motion, jumped over it, reached up. He at a minimum he blocked the kick, but I had never seen anybody do that. And let me tell you something. When Cam got there to hit you, he got there with bad intentions. Okay?
Right.
Hey, if I'm on the field playing, I'm gonna be like, Mama, there goes that man again.
There go that man.
You don't want to see Cam. You don't, hey, so
He was actually a throwback player. We talk about the 60s, 70s, 80s, part of the 90s. He was a throwback player. He would knock your block off.
Cam
He
was
wasn't the best. He wasn't the best cover guy. But you talk about run support. You talk about playing zone. He could play zone, but his hands were like butter. But being a throwback player, man, your top, I would say, your top thing is probably playing the run, and I think he did it very well. So he did his job well. He was part of one of the best defenses, I think, of all time, and where he fit in the 80s. Ooh, you talk about guys like Running Lott. You talk about guys like Roy Woodson, and like somebody said earlier, Jack Tatum. He fits that class. So and Steve Atwater in the 90s. So
Steve Atwater, can't forget him.
Yeah, he fits that type mold.
I think with Cam, all right. I tend to let me start by looking at the defense as a whole. I tend to overrate Richard. I think Richard Sherman's overrated. Let me get that out.
I agree with that. I actually agree with that.
I think Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor were. I think they're arguably the best safety duo in NFL history.
Guys.
Earl should be in the Hall of Fame. Cam probably won't because he had a short career, which it sucks. Cam, I think he could have played. I think he could have played the 70s to now. I think when you get to pre-70 in the 60s and before is when you get the safeties aren't hitting hard, even though the rules are fine for players who can hit really hard. The safety position was more focused on coverage guys. And like Paul Krause, Ken Hughes, Emlyn Tunnell. I think those are all great coverage guys. And your hard hitters tend to put at linebacker. Even though during that time you had smaller guys at every position. So I'm sure Cam would have been a great linebacker in the 60s and before. But I think he would have been solid. I think when it comes to him playing, see, I don't think he's
so.
A lot of people
could play with the rules of the defensive receiver nowadays. That would kind of concern me.
I mean, we kind of already saw a little bit of it. I mean, it's not as bad as it was. It's worse than it was back then, 10 years ago. But I think he would adjust. I think we see a lot of players. It's kind of reminds me of like Sean Taylor. A lot of people say, "Oh, he couldn't be able to hit that hard in today's NFL." He could have. He would have adjusted to today's NFL, and he played so close to now. It's only been 10 years that I think Cam could have. I think he would have adjusted.
I agree. And we talk about Sean Williams, Sean Taylor. I'm sorry. That dude was before his time as well. He was another guy that was a pure athlete, playing safety position. Had he played probably about 5 to 6 more years, we would easily be talking about him as a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah. He's my favorite safety ever. I'm not afraid to admit that. I mean, I got all this Eagles gear, but I wore the Sean Taylor Miami jersey last video. I have a Sean Taylor used to be Washington Redskins jersey. But yeah, he's my favorite player ever. I think, and to think that a lot of people talk about his hitting, but when he switched to free safety, that's when he was at his best.
Man, he could cover, bro.
And
some picks.
I don't think there's anyone. I don't think there's any safety that could have been at their peak potentially as good as Sean Taylor.
Right.
Yeah, because
he went out on top. Seriously,
he would have been up there with Polamalu, Ed Reed, and those guys during his era. Because, like I said, dude was a linebacker, cornerback, and a safety all rolled into one.
And let's just be honest, some fans already still put him there anyway, just off of his little small body of work.
Right.
Everybody see the potential of what could have been and the tragedy of what happened to Sean Taylor. They just, some people already kind of put him in that category, just talking to other football fans.
I mean, you look at Ed Reed. Think about all the Hall of Famers that have talked about him. Ed Reed, Brian Dawkins, Troy Polamalu. Cam Chancellor's talked about him. Other All-Pros, Landon Collins, all these guys talk about him. Ed Reed, during his Hall of Fame speech, called him a Hall of Fame safety. Think about his impact to the safety position was sorely missed. I mean, look, over the last 10 years, the safety position over the last 10 years is arguably the worst it's ever been. And imagine what Sean Taylor would have done playing a 15-year career up until like 2019. I mean, he would have done so much more to the NFL.
It would have been scary.
It would have been, guys. It would have been. All right, guys. Oh boy, this next one is gonna be juicy. Yeah, this next one gonna be juicy. Okay. Pause, by the way, for all y'all that's out there like that. No, because you got those whippersnappers out there, man.
He knew I was coming with it.
Yeah, I just hold on, wait a minute.
He beat himself to that one.
Yeah, I ain't going out like that. I ain't going out like that. No, but this guy was drafted in the first round, 3rd overall. He is a Hall of Famer, 10-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro. And the last nugget I will give you is over 15,000 rushing yards.
Okay, so he's a running back.
It's Barry Sanders.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's kind of another layup.
I was gonna guess that one, man, because my cousin played on the team with him in Detroit, so I kind of know his stats front to back. Yeah,
sure did, man. Barry freaking Sanders, man. I mean, gosh, what can we not say about this man? You already know, Hall of Fame player, inducted back in 2004, excuse me, and had over 3,000 rushes, man, getting close to 3,100 total. 99 touchdowns. Man, it'd been nice if he could have got 100. But regardless, went out on his own terms. You know what I'm saying, gave it his all. And Barry Sanders is arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, running backs that has ever laced him up on the gridiron.
Fact. And he was ahead of his time because he's what today's NFL is. You talk about a guy, and a lot of people just don't understand how talented he was. This guy had, I think, 3,000 yards on losses. Just think about that. He lost 3,000 yards going the other way.
Backwards.
So when you talk about guys like him, man, shifty, fast, and he was only 5'8", so he ran low to the ground. That's probably why it was so hard to tackle him. If he plays in today's NFL, he would probably break the rushing record with no problem. You talk about the 80s. He played 80. He was in college in 88. So
he was drafted in 89.
Ran for 2,000 yards in college, so he probably could have played in the 80s. In the 70s, even though they hit hard, could they even tackle him in that era? I don't think so.
Were they fast enough to catch him?
I think you can put Barry Sanders all the way back to the 30s and 40s with guys like slanging Sammy Barr and guys like that. And what's the
Don Hutson.
Yeah, and Jim Thorpe and those type of guys, because he was just that type talent.
Don Hudson.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jordan, what you think?
I want to start off by saying I think Barry Sanders is one of the greatest running backs ever. I think I have him 3 all time.
Okay.
I think the one thing that people don't bring up, and this is why I have Jim Brown and Walter Payton ahead of him, is because
me too.
He didn't have the playoff success. And a lot of people say, oh, look how bad the team was. I get that, but you got to still factor that in.
Yeah.
I don't know if Barry would. And I want to say this about pretty much any running back that played before 2000. I don't know if they would be able to play in today's NFL because of they would be able to play, but they would not have near the usage that they had when they were playing.
That was going to be a point of mine.
We'd probably be pairing Barry Sanders up with, I don't know, Amir Abdullah would probably be his running back. He'd also get 100 carries. You'd throw in Tyler Algier, and he'd probably get 100 carries too. And it doesn't matter how great Barry Sanders would be. It's just they don't want to overuse him. There's only one running back in the NFL that gets used like that, and now he's on the Ravens.
Right.
So he's probably not going to get used anywhere near he was getting used with the Titans.
Hey, that's a great point.
But is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because Derrick Henry got better as the game went on.
It's a good thing for Barry. I wouldn't say it's a good thing for the team that he plays on, whether that's the Lions or if he was on another team. Because if you're Barry, then all of a sudden his career gets extended a few more years, maybe 5, maybe 6, 7, 8 more years. He could have played a lot longer, maybe as long as Emmitt Smith played. But he could have played in other eras. I think his style is so unique that there's really only a handful of running backs that could move east to west like Barry Sanders, even to somewhere near that
level. 2 won't play today.
I think LaShawn McCoy is one of them. Watching him in person, he could go east to west like crazy. I don't know how Barry would play in the 60s because it was a weird time frame that the NFL was with the merger. They were transitioning. Before the merger, it was more Barry could have played because it was more about hitting what's in front of you, and Barry would easily just ran side by side around people. And then with the 70s, people started to understand that there was great running backs like that, like with OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
So the 60s is probably the only decade that I think would have been a little weird if Barry could have played in or not.
Right. Real quick, fellas. I know Smooth Smitty gotta get up out of here real quick. So I mean, you gonna hate that you gonna miss this last one, but go ahead and tell the people where they can find you.
They can find me on Smitty Sports Machine on YouTube. The 95 North Sports Machine is going to start a channel real soon. So, like I keep saying, man, y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Me, Chris, Berto, RJ, we just gonna turn up another notch, man, during the football season. So we're gonna need y'all help to help that channel grow. I dropped a video earlier today, so y'all go check that out. I'm about to drop a video after this one about Raheem Morris as putting out why he still went and drafted Michael Penix after signing Kirk Cousins. It's a great reaction video, so y'all please go check that out once y'all get finished watching this video. So again, I always thank y'all for coming through, helping your boy out, man, supporting your boy, Mr. Terry. Only for one time for the fans. I always get tongue tied when I say that. Shout out Jack Spade as well. Jordan, I will check out your channel soon. And Chris, I will talk to you later, my brother, because I know you're gonna find something to talk about because I know you.
Yeah, I got something up my sleeve already.
I already know. But I will holler at y'all later, man.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Peace.
See you. So,
yes,
Chris,
and just going back to Barry Sanders just briefly. Also, man, if going to Jordan's point, they started like that tandem running back, like kind of like what, late 2008, 2009, going into the teens. So Barry was the solo engine for the Detroit Lions. So his career probably be extended, but he probably wouldn't have the numbers that he would. We talking about with 15,000 rushing yards. I don't see that. Especially kind of similar. We kind of have a similar type. We don't have a Barry Sanders type, but a similar type in Bijan Robinson in Atlanta. And to Jordan's point, he really kind of gave me the layup when he just said Tyler Algiers. Yes, you would have another back, probably backing up Barry Sanders, giving him a breather, making sure that you can extend his career because you already see what's happening to guys like CMC. You know, I mean, he's been getting run into the ground. He had to lead the team and then, try to get extra carries and stuff like that too. But regardless, he's had injury. I feel like in today's game, you probably will see more of that happening. What I'm saying, guys getting run into the ground more so than how it was back when Barry was coming out. I can see Barry in the 70s. I can see him in the 80s as well, just because he ran the ball. But that 60s may get a little bit different. I mean, Barry still was a small guy, but I mean, they still would have to catch him. But when they caught him, I think they'll put like something nasty on him. So I'm gonna put him at the 70s, and then in today's game, he can play, but he wouldn't be as effective because they would cut down his usage, I believe.
I'm gonna disagree with both of you. And again, no disrespect, this is my opinion.
No, do your thing. What you mean?
Barry is one of the few people, because let me tell you something. Bijan is great, and Jake McCoy is definitely that dude. But Barry is one of the few people that there's a difference between being shifty and being able to move and maneuver inside of a shoebox. Like his cat-like reflexes, what made him so dangerous is he could shift in a very small space and get by people. And he was small and low to the ground, and he was very solid. Would he have been as successful in the 60s? Yeah, probably not. But I think he could play. As far as playing now, I think him being extended only helps him. Now, if he could play 7 more years than what he did, I'm gonna say he probably would eclipse 15,000 because he's not being used as much. He's gonna be fresher and he's gonna get by guys, right? There's only one Barry Sanders. Yes, Shady McCoy is great. Bijan is great. Bijan hadn't proved it, but Bijan is great for all intents and purposes. But Barry had a unique quality in that. Barry was very fast. Barry was very shifty, but Barry was also very solid. If you go back and look at his legs, they're like tree trunks. He was small in stature, but he was a big man. So he could take those hits. So, I'm going to say, I don't know. I don't have Jordan's expertise of the 50s, 40s, and 30s, but I feel like he could play in any era. Doesn't make me right. Um, Barry is one of my favorites to watch because Barry could take a 10-yard loss and turn it into 100 yards, and you're like, what the hell?
Of course.
Why did 5 people miss him? And they were all. How did that happen? So maybe I'm a little biased. I can admit that. Maybe again,
It's all right, but again, this is all kind of subjective in a way.
Barry's one of my favorites to ever do it. Right. So like my favorite, not top 5, but my favorites: Gale Sayers, Jim Brown, Earl Campbell, Barry Sanders, and God, who the hell am I forgetting? Anyway, Walter Payton. And Walter had that a little bit. Walter was 50. Now Walter was big, and Walter ran poetically. He had this movement to his run. I like guys that when they run, it just looks pretty. You know what I mean? And Walter was one of those. But Barry, to me, was one of the very few players that you might have him in a literally in a space like this, and he could get by you because he could maneuver and position himself and evade in small areas. That's right. Anyway,
but shoot, man, let's get to this last one real quick, man, because T. Will about to give a sermon. Okay, so this last guy, man, and then like I said, it's a heavy hit. I know Smitty probably started gonna be watching in the chat and everything. Yeah, you missed this one, man. Because this guy, oh shoot, hold on, now my computer want to trip. That's how they know it's a good one. All right, this guy right here, Hall of Famer, 14-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro. This guy right here, when I say, you can say arguably one of the greatest players that's ever laced him up, come on the gridiron, period, And this guy right here, man, he has over 500 career touchdowns.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I was gonna say Peyton or John Elway, but yeah,
absolutely. Of course, it's freaking Peyton Manning, man. Now I ain't gonna lie to you. I did spell his first name wrong, and I see that now. I'm tripping, but it's all good. They're still the same guy that I'm talking about. Talking about the sheriff, man. The freaking sheriff, man. Over 71,000 yards, man. 539 touchdowns. 251 interceptions, but it is what it is, man. I mean, 65.3% completion. This man did it all for everybody. That whatever team that he played for, which was only 2, but still, he did it all for him. He won rings wherever he went. And this guy right here, the way that he processed the game, the way that he was a student of the game. If you take rings away, hypothetically speaking, rings away, we can arguably say that this is the greatest quarterback that has played. Now, for Peyton Manning, what other eras do you guys feel like he can play in, starting with T. Will?
I mean, again, I feel like Peyton could play in any era because of what you said. He was a student of the game, right? So me personally, I'm a workaholic, and I have a profound respect for guys that get after it after 9 to 5, guys that stay, look at film, study it religiously. And that was Peyton. And Peyton was so good that when it came to his offense, the only really team that could figure him out was the Ravens. And they had a student of the game. So, in my humble opinion, I gotta say Peyton can play in any era. Now that's me. But I feel like you throw Peyton, even in today, Peyton would kill today because you can't hit the quarterback. Peyton might actually throw for 6,000 yards. Like Peyton in his prime, yeah. I say
Elite processor for sure.
yeah.
What you think, Jordan?
Yeah, what you think, Jordan?
He's the smartest player in NFL history. He could play in any era. He could play in the 1880s. He could play in the 1970s. He could play in
helmet.
20. He could play in 2070. He's the smartest player in NFL history. I frankly don't even think it's close. I think there's only one player that has outsmarted him at one point in his career. That's Ed Reed.
Yep.
Ed Reed has done reverse psychology basically on Peyton Manning. And
I know the play you're talking
I find
about. I know the play you're talking about. Go ahead. All right.
And yeah, he could play in any era. And a lot of people will say, oh, his arm strength. Honestly, arm strength has never been a problem in NFL history. It's not a problem now. It's never been a problem. People want to say that it's a great trait. It is a great trait to have because if you get to a point where you're trying to throw a ball 60 yards down the field, it's great to have. But he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in NFL history. His ability to read a defense is unlike most quarterbacks in NFL history. He would have what he did to the NFL in the 2000s. Outside of Tom Brady, without Tom Brady, we're probably talking about Peyton Manning the same way we talk about Tom Brady now.
That's why I say you take away rings. This is arguably.
He was just, and in 2013, I had Peyton Manning in fantasy that year. I've never seen a quarterback quite like Peyton Manning in the way he can read a defense. Like people want to say if a quarterback takes his time before the snap, he's Peyton Manning, he's taking too long. No, Peyton Manning would wait till the last second because he's trying to make sure everybody is perfectly in their spot. Now, would that transition to the first couple decades of the NFL? No, but he would still find a way to advance the game of football to a way that it wasn't at that point in time. That's why I say he could play in any decade at any time against anyone.
Right. I agree with that because this guy was, again, the most elite processor of a defense that you have ever seen. This is the guy that used to have Bill Belichick, used to have the guys like Ed Reed, the Palomalus, all those guys losing sleep, like, sacrificing on sleep because I want to make sure I watch everything about Peyton Manning because you had to. Why? Because you knew he was watching everything about you.
That's true.
Everything about you. And that 2013 season, that was the season he had 55 touchdowns and only 10 interceptions. Since 68.3 completion percentage. This guy was off the charts. When they thought he was going down, he was steady, still rising in some form of fashion. It wasn't until 2015 where it was really like, all right, Peyton, yeah, it's time to roll. But outside of that, man, Peyton was one of the greatest football players, especially at that quarterback position. You take away rings, you can say he's arguably the best. If you give him more rings, you can probably call him the best. Peyton Manning is definitely one of my favorite quarterbacks that has ever buckled a chin strap straight up and down.
Yeah, I think the thing about Peyton is, and most people didn't realize this, Ray Lewis did years later, but he would actually go up to the line and he would do some fake calls. He'd do fake audibles. And so, he blah, 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 blah. And the defense is like, check out. And he wouldn't do it. And it was Ray Lewis that figured, okay, you wait until about 5 to 10 seconds before the play, because if whatever calls at that point, you can't check out of it. So that must be the play. But that was years into Peyton's career. So Peyton had been focused on the play I think you're talking about with Ed Reed, Jordan, was where he started over and Peyton is looking him off.
Yep.
And he acts like he's gonna go and then turns around. Knowing where the ball will go, which is a ballsy move, right? Because if he's wrong, that is clearly a touchdown the other way. But he had studied Peyton so much, he's like, I know what he's gonna do. And it's like the game within the game, which I love. But yeah, man, look, if you're talking about just pure intelligence, it's Peyton and it ain't even close. It's not even close. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I think with Peyton, and I tend to look at quarterbacks in fantasy. I try to find a quarterback who could make receivers. And I think I was caught up with the time period of over the last decade of quarterbacks, because we really don't get quarterbacks who do that anymore. With Tom Brady made guys that are nobodies really good receivers. I mean, Chris Hogan, Danny Amendola came back in his career.
Yeah.
And Peyton Manning did the same exact thing with every single player on the entire team, from the running back to the tight end, slot receiver, anyone. He just made everybody so much better. I mean, talking about that time, Drew Brees did the same thing. Aaron Rodgers is probably one of few that I don't think he could do it anymore. I think Aaron Rodgers is kind of past that point in his career. But I mean, nowadays, I think the Bills want Josh Allen to do that. That's why the receiving core is sort of dysfunctional right now. Mahomes can do that, but outside of Mahomes, I don't think there's any other quarterback in the entire league that can make receivers quite like the last generation of quarterbacks could. But Peyton Manning did it at his best. He made Austin Collie relevant.
Yes, he
did. He single-handedly made Dallas Clark one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history. I'm not putting him in the GOAT conversation, but he's a great tight end in NFL history. Julius Thomas, during that short time frame, we were talking about how much potential he could have. He was just that good of a tight end. Think about all the running backs he's had, from Edgerrin James, Joseph Adai, Noshawn Moreno. There were so many, CJ Anderson. There were so many running backs that he made relevant. And they weren't even receiving backs necessarily, but they were just a part of the game. And that's why he could make anyone good.
Yep. You're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right, man. This guy, Peyton Manning, again, was just one of the best football players that's ever done it, man. And Julius Thomas, real quick before we get out of here, that Julius Thomas, I had him in fantasy that year where he just blew the doors off. And I was like, who is this guy? Because I had no idea about who Julius Thomas was. And Peyton Manning got Juju paid down there going to Jacksonville. Peyton Manning is the reason why Julius Thomas got paid and then fell off the map when the sheriff decided to hang him up.
Yeah.
Straight up and down.
Yeah, he did.
But guys, thank you so very much for coming back on. Same panel. We had to go ahead and knock this out, part 2, because we planned on giving you 10. We had to give you 5 before. We had to come back with the next 5, so it only makes sense. And thank you, fellas, for, coming through and doing this. By all means, starting with Jordan, let people know where they can find you, and what you got coming up, all that good stuff.
You can find me at Ultegacy, ULTEGACY, any social media platform. Right now I'm working on the Falcons all-time team. I'm probably going to do a video on that. I have the entire offense and defense done. Special teams, I'm going to be putting a little bit more focus on specific positions, even though some positions may seem obvious. I still want to get down to the nitty-gritty with some of the positions.
Yeah, man, sounding good. What you got, T. Will? I'm caught up in what he said. Like, I'm old. I'm going through the machinations in my mind, like, okay, William Andrews. I'm going through running back right now. Anyway, let me shut up. All right. You can find me at One Time for the Fan. Please like and subscribe. Also at For My ATL One Sports on YouTube. Again, please like and subscribe. Gentlemen, it was so much fun doing it with you, Chris. You know how I feel about you, brother. Thank you. So much respect, so much appreciation. Love what you're doing it. Keep doing it. What you say, be intentional, be great. Something you say, but anyway,
Hey, man.
I can't say it like you, but you know what I mean. I mean it from the heart.
Oh yeah, facts.
Jordan, I got a good feeling about you. I got a good feeling about you, sir. So I can't wait for you to finish that Falcons personally because I'm excited about it. Matter of fact, after you do your show, maybe we can all do a show because, like, that probably is going to take some episodes. You're going to have some folks arguing, right? I'm all about the smoke, so yeah.
There's one name that I think everybody. I said it in our group chat for our page. I said everybody's gonna be so mad that I am putting this player as the second player on their position. I have a lot of reasons why. So
hey, look, and that's the fun of it, right? That's the fun of it, and it's. I'm gonna shut up. Okay.
Right. And the thing I like about the fact that Jordan is doing this video, it's not just because it's a Falcons video. I mean, of course, you know, I'm gonna like a Falcons video, but the fact about this list, you got to think about it is too, this is coming from someone who's not even a Falcons fan. So there will be no bias in this.
Correct.
In this list that Jordan, you know, composes. So
correct.
When he comes out, man, I know out there, like I told you in the chat, man, I'm definitely going to be watching. So
I can't wait.
You know, I can't wait for it to come out, man. But yeah, it's Chris Tipmore, man, A1 Forever Sports. Be generational because it's always time to be in. Don't you settle for less because you can always have more with the vision. And as you've seen with that in mind, we had this right here to come up with. We're going to probably do some more of these too, man. This is only the beginning. We only did 10 players total. And of course, we know it's millions and millions of football players. So just stay tuned, you know, and look into for that. As far as the things coming up, I know One Time for the Fan is about to go do something for, you know, so you got to rise up for that and make sure you check them out and hit that like, subscribe button. As far as like the page, just like Smitty kind of already told you earlier, we're working on another page, still working on more guests, bringing them on. We're getting more closer and closer and closer to opening night of football, really probably like a month away realistically. So we're almost there, man. Y'all just sit tight, hold on, don't do nothing crazy because we almost in the football season. But until next time, guys, peace and blessings to each and every last one of you guys. Make sure y'all find y'all peace today. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So until next time, y'all, thank you again. Peace and blessings to all. We will holler.
A1. Yeah.